We head to the high seas now, where we are joined during this electoral campaign. There he is, ahoy, we say to the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage. Nigel.
Good morning.
What takes you to the high seas then, and where are you?
We are literally mid-channel now between Dover and Calais, and behind me you can see a white dinghy. There are 45 people on board. Behind it you can see an escort vessel, because that's what the French do. Despite the 500 million quid we've given them, they literally, once these boats are afloat, escort them to our 12-mile line where they hand them over to Border Force. That of itself, I think, is outrageous. But the significance of this boat is that this number on this vessel take it beyond 50,000 that have come since Rishi Sunak has been Prime Minister. During Boris Johnson's time, 68,000 came, but he was there for double the period. So don't delude yourselves. This problem is getting worse. So we're witnessing a really very, very big, significant number today. And of course, Sunak talks about Rwanda and much else. But I'm afraid I see no sign under either Labour or the Conservative parties of this problem ending. I don't think they've got the guts to do what it takes.
So, at the very least, reform, in terms of what it takes, would get the French to say, if you spot a boat, you bring it back to your shores. You don't bring it over to our shores.
Well, absolutely, because these boats are illegally taking off from France. They're vulnerable boats. And yes, the French Navy should be taking them straight back. Quite how we've managed to give them £500 million and to allow this practice to continue is completely and utterly beyond me.
I was just wanting to talk to you a little bit about the claims that the Prime Minister was making during the debates last night. He was saying that migrants in Calais were waiting for a Labour administration because of the deterrent of Rwanda. I mean, you've just... what's the phrase I'm looking for? Truth busted that or fact-checked that for us this morning. That's clearly not the case.
I mean, the arguments that Rishi Sunak and James Cleverly are putting up, I mean, they honestly, they don't bear credibility in any way at all. Were this lot behind me waiting for a Labour government? Were they hell? It's over 128,000 people have come, 90% of them young men, many coming from war zones, from areas plagued by terrorism, gang crime, many coming with attitudes towards women that we would find completely unacceptable. I mean, how much worse could it be under Labour than it's been under him? And my hunch is that he had to call the election early because he'd promised planes would go to Rwanda in July. He told us people were in detention already, waiting to go. Do you know every single one of those people has been released on bail and at least half have absconded already? There were no boats going to Rwanda. We will not solve this problem until we leave the European Court of Human Rights.
Nigel, I wanted to ask you, and this is related, so bear with me, but you'll be aware that the IFS yesterday on your tax plan said that you were poisoning the entire political debate because what you were proposing was wholly unattainable. And I want to ask if you think it's fair that you could also say that about your arguments when it comes to these illegal crossings. A lot of people voted for Brexit on what you were promising, which was that this problem would be resolved. It's got worse. Yeah. I know you'll tell me that the ECHR now is the key to this problem, but we would replace the ECHR presumably with our own enshrined human rights laws because we are a civilised country, and lawyers would still find problems with detaining people who are legally or legitimately trying to flee war and other situations. So my question to you is what you're promising people truly attainable?
It's all attainable. Brexit Britain can do what the hell it likes. That was the point of leaving. You need a government that's prepared to carry it out. And sadly, we lack the will to do so. And it isn't just the £8 million a day for the hotels. I genuinely believe this should be declared a national security emergency. We have no idea who these young men are, no idea what they've been through, no idea what their intentions are. And that is just how serious this situation is. I think actually, logically, as a result of Brexit, we should leave the ECHR anyway. It's becoming an increasingly activist court. It's making it very difficult to deport those that come to our country illegally. It even intervened recently in Switzerland and told the Swiss government it had to obey net zero rules. We should have no part of it whatsoever. Let's get that sovereignty back, and once it's back, let's exercise it properly, because that's what the voters wanted more than once.
And directly on his comments on your, I know you didn't want to call it a manifesto, I think it was a social contract, but when it came to your pledges on on tax and finance, he said that your rhetoric, and to be fair, he levelled the same criticism to the Greens as well, was creating a tax lock arms race, which was hugely damaging to public discourse. Do you accept any of that?
Absolutely none of it. What I do accept is that on economics and on budgets, what we put forward was far more ambitious than the Labour and Conservative governments, who frankly on these things, you literally cannot tell them apart. What we are saying is we have to get the level at which people pay tax up to £20,000 a year, and only by doing that do you get people off benefits and back to work and make work pay. And we can save it, we can get the money for it by scrapping the ludicrous drive, the crazy drive to decarbonising the grid by 2030 or 2035. You see, again, even on that, Labour and Conservative, virtually identical. That's going to cost between £2 and £3 trillion. So we can see exactly how we can do that, invest in our own people, get them off benefits, and stop the need for so much cheap migrant labour.
Nigel Farage, we've got to leave it there. Thank you for your time.